Hello and welcome to True Crime ESL, true crime stories for English learners. I'm your host, Nova Singh. In the video description, there's a link to a free document with vocabulary descriptions and a transcript for this episode that you can download. Can you find the 2 special phrases from the document in today's story? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this podcast and want to hear more. Today, our story is about Elizabeth Holmes and her company, Theranos. In 2014, a company called Theranos became the most valuable private startup in Silicon Valley, the area in Northern California that is known as a center of technology and innovation. Theranos said it could take a single drop of blood and run hundreds of tests on it with fast and accurate results. This was good news because it would make testing people's blood easier and quicker. If a lot of different tests could be done on a small amount of blood, people would be more likely to get tested. The founder of Theranos was a woman called Elizabeth Holmes. She had dropped out of the prestigious Stanford University in 2004 after studying chemical engineering. The story of a young woman creating a tech company that could make big changes in the world of healthcare was attractive to people who wanted to invest money. This led to Theranos being worth around $10 billion by 2014, but just a few years later, it was worth nothing at all. Elizabeth Holmes started Theranos in 2003 and began getting money from investors straight away. She was charming, intelligent, and had an idea that she believed could revolutionize the medical system. Theranos was growing at the same time as other companies that went on to be huge successes, like Spotify, Uber, and Facebook. Investors wanted to make money, and Holmes was someone they wanted to work with. Theranos was being sold to them as a technology company. In reality, Theranos was a healthcare company, but many of the investors didn't have great medical knowledge, so didn't understand how the testing machine worked. In 2009, Ramesh Balwani, who was known as Sunny, joined Theranos as the chief operating officer of the company. He had never worked in science or medicine, so couldn't bring any knowledge to the blood testing process. What most people didn't know for years was that he was in a romantic relationship with Elizabeth Holmes. Holmes was very successful in raising money, but Theranos flew under the radar for many years, keeping its technology and testing methods secret until it was ready to show the world. In 2013, it launched its website and announced a partnership with American pharmacy chain Walgreens. Theranos had blood collection centers in over 40 Walgreens locations across the United States, and the publicity turned Elizabeth Holmes into a rising star. She appeared on magazine covers, and the American business magazine Forbes named her the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. Soon, a partnership with another supermarket chain was announced, which meant that Theranos testing centers would be available to even more people. Health insurance companies chose Theranos as a lab testing partner. Holmes also said Theranos was working with the US military, allowing doctors to have access to quick test results for soldiers who got hurt. Theranos was doing very well, but when it was at its highest point, news began to come out that it wasn't as successful as it seemed. Test results weren't accurate, machines weren't working, and employees were unhappy. A journalist called John Carreyrou started investigating and made some shocking discoveries. After its rise to fame, the company closed down in 2018, and Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny Balwani were arrested for fraud. There were many reasons why Theranos failed. In reality, Theranos had never and could never deliver what it had promised. Holmes had been told years earlier that it wouldn't be possible to do lots of different tests on such a small amount of blood, but she convinced people to invest in the company anyway. Nobody on the board of directors had much medical knowledge, so they didn't ask Holmes difficult questions about the blood testing machine and how this technology was possible. The machine was called Edison, after the inventor Thomas Edison. While it could perform simple blood tests, it wasn't capable of all the things Holmes said it was. It couldn't, for example, find markers for cancer or diabetes. There were always problems with the machines, and they needed to be fixed regularly. It was revealed that Theranos had bought other companies' testing machines to help with all the blood samples they were receiving. This led to another problem. The amount of blood received from a patient was very small and not enough to use for all the tests. The blood had to be mixed with water to get a big enough sample to use with the other machines. This blood was then diluted even more during the tests, leading to incorrect health information and results. One woman was told she was no longer pregnant, when in fact her baby was still healthy. Another was told she had HIV when she didn't. Theranos had to cancel the results of tests going back 2 years as they weren't reliable. Theranos wasn't just lying about test results, it was lying about the state of the whole company. There was no contract to use Edison machines for US soldiers. Nobody outside the company was allowed to see the testing machines, so no one knew how they worked. This wasn't to keep the technology a secret, it was because Theranos didn't want people to see that they were using machines from different companies. Holmes had exaggerated her ideas and what the machine could do to get more money for the company. The technology wasn't good enough, and the Theranos team faked a demonstration of the Edison machine when it broke down before an important meeting. The machine and tests had never been properly checked by anyone else, but Theranos used logos for different pharmaceutical organizations on its paperwork, so it looked like they had checked the process. Employees who were worried about the test results were threatened and were too scared to tell anyone. A lot of people left Theranos or were fired. Eventually, someone started talking to the reporter John Carreyrou, and the truth began to come out. An investigation into Theranos started in 2016, and the pharmacy chain Walgreens sued them. Holmes and Bulwani ended their relationship around this time. In June 2018, Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny Bulwani were charged with fraud because they had taken money from people while selling a false product. By September 2018, Theranos had closed down. Holmes's trial started in 2021. It had been delayed because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and also because Holmes had had a baby. In her defense, Holmes blamed her employees for not telling her the truth, and also blamed Bulwani for controlling her. She was found guilty on 4 out of 11 charges and was sentenced to 11 years in prison. Sunny Bulwani was sentenced to nearly 13 years in prison. Elizabeth Holmes thought she could change the way medical testing worked, but she took millions of dollars without having the knowledge of how to do it. Theranos looked like it could be the next big thing, but some of the biggest investors lost tens of millions of dollars, and the unreliable testing put people's health at risk. So that's all for today. Thanks for listening to True Crime ESL. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this podcast, and maybe tell a friend about it. You can follow us on Instagram at True Crime ESL, and you can also donate to the podcast at www.buymeacoffee.com/truecrimeesl if you want to support us. Today's story was written by Katy Watson, and all other production was by me, Nova Singh. You can download our free document for vocabulary, a transcript of today's story, and our story sources. You can find the link to the document in the video description. Take care and stay safe out there, true crime fans.